So this was animated by Studio Grackle, and this is just a really awesome trailer. So let me play through this here. And the animation in here is just beautiful. The timing of it, the spacing, it is just, it's fantastic. And there's just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about here that when I was looking at it, it's yeah, he is very, his eyes, oh, you could get lost in those eyes. And and Asaf, thank you so much for the follow. The thing I wanted to talk about specifically on this is the way they push the spacing, because this is something I've talked about many times on stream, many times in my classes, and it's one of the most common things I see happen with student work, is that as a student, I had this problem. I see most students tend to have this problem. We have a problem of pushing our spacing. As we animate, we tend to try and push our spacing, and it ends up being a little bit of an ease, and it goes faster in the middle. So let's do something like this, and then it eases in. Maybe add a few more frames here. So it eases, and then it goes faster in the middle, and then slows down. So something like that. And then, oh, we've got to push our spacing. Okay, let's push a little bit more of an ease. Goes faster in the middle, and then ease again. So, ooh, you see, we've pushed it. Nah, we can push our spacing. So when we push our spacing, we can push it so that it basically eases out. So let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And okay. So we could do something like this. Ease out, ease in, like that. See how this is the ease now? And then we got one frame of motion in the middle, compared to this where the ease might only be these 2 frames and then the rest is the motion, or here where these are the eases here and then we've got this many frames in the middle. We're exaggerating those ease ins and outs so that the middle portion moves much more quickly. This creates dynamic animation. This is not to say that the others are bad, not at all. There's a time and a place for pretty much any type of animation, even linear animation. That's when there's no ease in and out whatsoever, it's just a straight line. But if you want to try and push, for example, let's say a fight scene like this, and you really want to make it dynamic and hit strong and hard and just be visually like that visual eye candy, pushing the spacing makes a huge difference. So if we kind of look at this here, let's pay attention to that spacing. So let's take a look just at this beginning part here. So as he comes through, let's find a good spot for it. Where would be a good spot to analyze this? Well, let's say this swing right here. So we've got this really nice swing. Very strong, very powerful. If you look at the spacing of his hand, we'll use that as a kind of base here. Look at what happens. So it eases out there. It gets a little faster here. It holds a little bit here. Now this is something I've talked about in previous streams, which is the fact that spacing doesn't have to be perfectly even or like just get ease in, ease out. You can have little pauses in the middle. So if we go back to our spacing chart here, right here, you can add kind of a little extra hold right in there. This is a way of getting a little bit of oomph to emotion. This is something you see a lot in anime or Japanese style animation. They do this a lot more than typically American animators, or I should say Western animation. So the concept is that you're adding a little hitch in the animation. So you can see right there, there's that spacing, it holds, and then right there, this is the big moment that then just kind of starts to arc around here and then start to reverse. I love that switch in the hands there. So we'll just focus on this one swing. What software is this? This is Keyframe MP Pro, which is the paid version. It's the there's two paid versions. This is the more expensive, the $75 version. If you're gonna pay for it, go with that one. I would not recommend. Oh, and my camera just overheated. No, camera, why? Come back. There is a $35 version, and hopefully my camera comes back. There we go. There's a $35 version. I don't typically recommend that one, just because if you're gonna pay for it, the features that you get in the Pro version, they're just so worth it. Whereas the other version, you get a few other features, but all the ones that I want are in the Pro version. So just get the Pro, and it's really nice. I actually haven't updated it. There's a new update to this that actually adds a lot of really cool features, including being able to zoom in on your stuff, which sucks because there's so many times where I would love to zoom in on a specific portion of the video here. You can just zoom in and out and do the drawovers and everything. It's really cool. But the concept here of the spacing is that instead of, so we've got the ease here. This is the ease out right there. Then it goes fast, holds, and then really fast. The fastest point is right here. This concept is basically adding a little bit of a hitch in the animation to create a bigger impact. So if we go full screen here, I'll try to demo it visually just to show a little bit more. It's the difference between, let's say I'm going to hit something and I just go in nice and smooth, just like that, versus if I go in, anticipate, and then like there's that hitch. That creates a little bit more texture in the animation instead of just back and then forward, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we want to add texture. Sometimes we want to add that extra little something. It's visual spice. So we come back and like that. The same thing happens like this is the first example I ever saw of it, and it kind of made sense to me right when I saw it. I can't remember what show it was. It was someone pulling a lever and it was rusted shut, and they're trying to pull and they're trying to pull, and as they were pulling, suddenly it released, and they could have just animated it pulling, and it releases, and then haha, whatever, I think it was like a door or something, opens up, and they just could have done that. But that's not interesting, especially for a big rusted thing in the floor. Instead, the animators took it, and as the character was pulling, it went, so there was this little hitch in the spacing where it pulled, jammed, and then came forward again. It was only one, just like the animation we were looking at here, there's this one extra little pause in the motion, in the spacing. They halted it just a little bit, but it gives that extra little bit of oomph, that texture. Does it give more like a heavy hit when skipping frames? Yeah, so you can do that as well in 3D. It creates that feeling that there's like a hitch or a pause or an impact. It just adds texture. You don't use it all the time or else it gets boring, but you add it in every so often, and it can really help improve, especially, yeah, it shows friction and force. Exactly. So that really helps exaggerate things. So now our spacing, if we kind of look at our spacing chart here, is not just even and ease in, ease out. There's this big ease at the beginning, big ease at the end, but then the middle has a little pause in it. Just a little bit like that. And it creates this more dynamic range. And if I wanted to push this even more, I would actually push it, the undo right there, I would push it so it's like this. So you get a big motion, pause, biggest motion, like that. This way it adds even more oomph after the fact. If you do it the other way, the bigger oomph is going to be before the pause, which not bad, but most of the time it's going to be like this if you want the end result to be the thing that people remember. So let's keep going here. Look at that spacing here. So cool. Now this is a big creature. Big creatures, a common misconception when you're animating big creatures is that they move slowly because they're big. It's that giant, like just crashing down, big, huge monster. No. Big creatures move quickly. They move very quickly. You will not outrun an elephant. Elephants will run faster than you. And they don't even run. They walk. They speed walk. An elephant is incapable of running. Giraffes run crazy fast. Whales move crazy fast. A great white shark moves way faster than you will in the water. Big creatures move quickly. When you're animating a big creature, you don't want them to feel like they're in slow motion. That kills all the weight, all the energy from them, especially if they're supposed to be dangerous. Instead, when you're animating big creatures, what you want to do is just push how much they ease in and out. They're huge. They take more energy to build up speed. Once they build up speed, though, they move just as quickly, if not more quickly, than a normal sized creature or person. And that's what they're doing here. So if we watch this, the creature comes back. So let's find the furthest back. So we'll say right here. This is kind of the start of its motion. Now, as it starts to go forward, watch that ease. It's easing out. Still easing. Still easing. I would still consider this part of the ease. And look at that beautiful arc that is creating. And now look at that. Suddenly that spacing goes from like a little wider, a little wider, a little wider. Oh my god, it's moving quickly. And it's gonna kill me. And then just and out of scene. It took, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames. Now keep in mind this is animated on 2s. So every frame is holding for 2 frames. So that's 12 frames of ease before suddenly it shoots forward in 4 frames. And then it's just gone and going through. So it's not a matter of moving in slow motion. It's just letting it take its time to build up that energy and getting to speed. And a great film to do an analysis and to do master studies of is Pacific Rim. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend it. It's a really cool kaiju film. And my camera, oh no, my poor camera, why? I'll have to double check my camera. It's been doing this a lot recently. Let's see, okay, back. So Pacific Rim is a great film to analyze that weight in creatures. It's a masterpiece in that, because these are giant mechs and giant kaijus, monsters that are fighting each other, and they really sell that these are huge 100-foot creatures, and as they move, they have to take a lot of energy to move forward. But when they hit and when they start to run, it is frightening how fast they can move. I would highly recommend, if any of you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Even if it's not your kind of film, it's worth analyzing just for that. So, another thing to keep in mind here. Now, coming through here, This song, we were getting such like high energy songs earlier in the stream, and now we're analyzing this shot, and it's such quiet music. So let's look at the spacing here. So once again, if we watch this, he starts to move here. This is the ease, comes through, and look at how fast the hand moves here. Suddenly just right through. Beautiful arc. And they're really exaggerating that motion. Now, the way they're exaggerating it even more is with the tip of the sword. Is if you were actually looking at the sword, how far it's moving on screen. Like that is a huge spin. It's going from one corner of the screen to the top all the way to the other corner, which is just absolutely brilliant. Then as they come through here, such good motion. Like look at that. I love how as he spins here, this is not related, but he spins and the sword counters his motion. So he's spinning this way, and then he spins the sword the other way across his back to switch hands. It's just so cool. The choreography for this is just fantastic, and how you can feel that giant monster going across the back. It's just so cool. And then we get this. I love this hit. So he's not swinging at it. He's just bouncing his sword against it and then stabbing the next one in the face. So he bounces his sword and then stabs and then swings. So this is a brilliant moment where they could have done 3 swings. Just swing, swing, swing. Instead they have him butting up the pommel of the sword into one, then taking that, stabbing the other one, before using that to swing into the third. 3 different actions, but done very quickly. And if we kind of break this down, watch how they're really pushing that spacing, and specifically pushing the lead of the action. So the hand comes through here, and then we'll let's track the shoulder. And I'm going to do that with a triangle here. So the shoulder starts to come through, and the hand counters that. The hand's still going screen right. Now, as he pulls through, look at the shoulder leading that action. Hands dragging. He comes through, shoulder stops moving. Now the hand comes through. So the shoulder led the action, the shoulder and the body, even the head. Look at how far the head is moving. If we kind of track that with a square here. Look at that. Really fast, and it bounces off. So the head's bouncing, the shoulders easing in, the hands speeding up. There's this beautiful contrast in actions. My poor camera. No, I might have to call it right after this, or else my camera might actually burn out. I don't want that. And then look at that spacing right there of that hand. Just slams into this thing. And like we were talking about before, with contacts, with the cat shot, and how the orc, the little heart touches his nose and then he reacts out of it. They don't show that sharp contact. This they definitely do. The snake thing is headed in this direction, and on the impact, the whole thing has been knocked over in one frame. That really shows the power of this contact. They are not showing the moment of contact. They are skipping right past and showing the aftermath of the contact. So slams in there. So big spacing. Ease, hit, ease as it bounces off. Well, actually, no, this wouldn't be the ease. This is the overshoot. So this is the overshoot. It settles in, anticipation, and then he starts to come through. I love how he's holding the blade there. As much as this might seem odd, people did fight like this quite often by holding the blade. Normally they'd have gloves on. You wouldn't want to do this barehanded, but people would often fight with their hands on the blades. And then, look at that. Look at that spacing. And once again, the head leads the action here. The head is moving forward before the hand. Get this beautiful stab motion. And that stab leads into the next motion and creates the anticipation for the swing here. Which once again leads with the head first. You can see how his head is really leading. That arm barely moves. In space, it's actually moving technically screen right still. And then it comes through. Speed up. That little hitch. Look at that. So they don't use it all the time. They save their moments. And it really helps to add that extra oomph to all of these motions. It's brilliant and beautiful. And I love this little extra duck down right here, anticipating as he then brings his arm up. It's just, oh, so beautiful. And this is actually one of those things that a lot of student animators, you can really try to push in your shots. And it's a tricky concept to think of at first, because it's kind of in a gray zone between two things, which is that one motion can lead into the next, but it isn't the same motion. So what I mean by this is, let's say you have, let's go full screen for this and we'll mime it out if my camera will stay alive for this. Let's say we've got a series of motions. Typically students will tend to fall into two sides when they're starting to learn to animate, which is that they will either push the holds too much or not have any holds whatsoever. And what this does, yeah, of course, my camera. No, just a little longer, camera. You can do this, please. So I had one more thing I wanted to talk about, but I'll save that for maybe next stream because I don't want my camera to burn out. So the concept is you can fall into two camps. One is that you hold too much, which creates, let's say I want to do let's say I elbow someone in the face. We'll go with a fight scene because this is a fight scene we're looking at. Elbow someone in the face, and then I want to punch someone afterwards. The two camps would be holding too much, which makes it so that you elbow someone, and then you look, and then you punch, which makes the action too separated. There's no connection between them, and it creates two totally separate actions. You have one, okay, reset, two. That's okay. That's technically the better of the two options, but it can create this very boring shot that just feels like a lot of individual moments. So it's okay, and then punch, and then something else, and then something else. And it just kind of, it loses the flow, especially in a heavy action scene like we were just looking at. The other thing that students will do is usually not hold enough. So you'll have like two, and everything just kind of lines up and starts to look like mush. So instead of having separate actions, you have one action that just slides between itself. That's not good. So the concept here is linking actions together and using one action to influence another. So for example, if I'm going to elbow someone in the face behind me, that's going to create a hit, and it's not just going to stop and hold and then come back. I'm going to hit, there's going to be that overshoot, settle, but because I'm already here, I can use that pose as the anticipation for the next punch. So I'm using one action and creating an anticipation or a lead up into the next action. So hit and then punch. So that motion is the anticipation for the next one. It links them together. They're still separate motions, and this is where it's like I was saying, it's gray because it is separate motions, but you're linking them together subtly in order to create a more dynamic animation. And you can keep doing this. You can keep linking things together. So, for example, you elbow someone and then you punch, and that punch might pull you around so that maybe that next arm comes up and is the anticipation for an uppercut into something. So it's punch and then that comes into there. But it is a separate action just linked together. I hope that makes sense. Now, with that in mind, watch this fight scene, this specific moment right here. So he hits, spins, and then throws his arm up. They are using that concept to their advantage here, where as he comes through, we'll say this is the start here. So technically it starts before this, but we'll use this as the starting point. So he comes in to hit this creature. Wham, hits it. Now this hit, we still get that shake, but it becomes the anticipation for this stab. He stabs, his arms swing across. That becomes the anticipation right here for the next swing. He swings across, down. That becomes a little bit of an anticipation, a little bit, of this turn, and that turn turns into the anticipation for this motion upwards. And my camera just died. So they are linking them together to create this connectivity, this feeling of the character adapting to his scenario versus constantly resetting and reanalyzing. And I'll just leave my camera off for now, just because I don't want it to burn out. They have it so that it leads through the shot. If you ever watch like a Jackie Chan fight, he is the master of cinematography, fight choreography, I should say. He uses that concept beautifully in live action. I would highly recommend studying that if you're interested in doing fight choreography in your own animations, because all of these lead through each other and create this really dynamic flow of a fight that doesn't feel like it's just punch, reset, punch, reset. If ever you look at especially old westerns, like western style films, or just action movies in general, old action movies, let's see if I can get my camera to work, they had that quite a bit, where they would have two characters facing off. It's the big climax of the film. They're about to fight, and it's punch, aha, punch, hit, and it's just one hit, and then they take a hit, and then hit, and then they take a hit, or they do two hits, punch, aha, and they keep resetting themselves after every hit. It's very boring. It's not interesting. Whereas if you look at new action films, they take that concept of, I guess you could say it's a martial arts concept of using the weight of your opponent, or the movement of your opponent, the energy of your opponent, and turning it against them, or even using your own momentum and using it to build into something new, so that as they punch, they will take that hit and then turn it into something else. And it creates a much more dynamic flow in a fight versus this old concept of just punch, aha, haha. That's boring, where it just resets every single time until someone just drops. Really take your time to study that. If you're really interested in fight choreography, especially for, like, I know there's the airbender challenge, or like with the Aang rig, there's this bending challenge that's going on right now. Take some time to study those concepts, especially study Last Airbender, how they move through a fight. Study Legend of Korra. As much as Legend of Korra maybe story-wise had some issues, animation-wise it is gorgeous. and they really capture that idea of a flow in combat. The feeling that a character doesn't just hit and then stop and reset. It leads to something. And sometimes they will reset. You don't want it to just flow continuously, or else it'll be one long thing. But you take your time and you figure out how you can take your actions and lead them into each other in a natural way. And again, it's very subtle. It's a gray area because it means that you have to hold, but you don't hold too long. And you let the energy of the character move from one part into the next, so that the momentum of the arm suddenly starts to flow through the chest, and the chest starts to lead into the next movement, and creating that connection between the body parts. That's going to be huge in kind of exaggerating these concepts. So I hope that makes sense. Like I was saying, that I did want to talk about a bunch of other stuff actually in this stream, but because my camera is dying and a lot of it involves kind of miming things out, I don't want to risk burning up my camera because I think it's overheating. I don't know why, but I'll have to check all the settings after it cools down. But I might actually just call it here. I wanted to go over questions and stuff, but my camera turned against me. So I think with that, unless there's any specific questions related to this, we can probably end it here. Oh, he's doing some 2D animation. Let's see if the raid button works. For some reason, there's a for anyone who doesn't know, there's a raid button that's like I can just push and then select the channel to raid. They don't work for me. I don't know why. It's just, it doesn't let me raid them. It keeps coming up with like, you cannot raid at this time. But oh, actually it looks like it might work today. So let's actually do that. And yeah, my camera. Because there was one more thing I wanted to talk about well, my camera seems fine. I'll talk about, no, I'll save it for later because I do want to go in depth on it, and I don't want to make it darn it, camera. I want to go in depth on it because it's a really cool moment. And we can talk about some other things later too. So with that, we'll do a raid, but before I go into the raid, I just want to thank everyone for jumping in, for listening. I hope it was interesting. I hope it kind of maybe push you towards finding some new animations, some new animators to follow, as well as kind of showing how you can analyze these really awesome animations. And again, the concept here is, instead of seeing these animations and these animators and going, oh man, I wish I could be like that, and it discouraging us, we can take that and learn from it and find out why we love it so much. And now in our shots, we can put that in, and not only does it make our animations better, but we start making a style of animation that we love, because it's based on all the things that we find interesting to look at. Everyone's a little different, so everyone has a style of animation they prefer. Some people like really cartoony, other people like subtle animation. That's not a problem. But by doing this, you can start to find out why you like it and start putting it into your animations so that you create animations you really enjoy, versus animations that you wish, like you animate and you wish you could do it in that style, but you never do. So yeah, hopefully that